will slot in and be a team player. At the moment for me, Pulisic is an individual, total individual, and can make such a difference as an impact player. But if he started, I wouldn't blame him.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Thomas Tuchel has tended to get it right against the bigger managers and the bigger sides so far this season. Ben, I believe you're going to talk us through Thomas Tuchel's record against the big boys.
Interesting stuff. We could argue about team news all the way to the end of the show and right through to kick-off tomorrow. I'm sure we are going to be discussing our thoughts on the big decisions Thomas has got to make there. Interesting that Clive was talking about Pulisic. I'm sure he will be a big part of those conversations. As we watch them here, Pat, and there's another young Germany. And a warm-up. What are we going to see out there realistically by way of training session here?
Trying very hard to get used to the pitch, right? It's all about what studs you're going to. Unlikely to be much different tomorrow, the conditions. Just be wet again. So get used to that, make sure you get your legs moving. Double checking the guys that have had little niggles. So there's one or two have had little niggles. So we need to find out if N'Golo is okay. That sort of stuff. For everybody else, you want to get through this. It's actually, do you know what it is? It's a release of energy, this. It should be something different. It should be. You're not going to learn any tactics here. You're not going to learn any new skill that you don't have before. But you need a bit of a release of energy the night before. And that's what this does more than anything else. For the press, you get to see them, we get to see them, etc. But for the lads, it's just to get a little bit that way.
Zach, the record against the big boys since Thomas has taken over has been very good. Very few goals conceded, never mind points dropped. There was a 0-0 with Man United, but obviously the 2 wins with City, people have been talking about a win and a clean sheet against Spurs. We could or not count Arsenal, I don't know whether we want to do that, but Anfield up there, a win and a clean sheet there. Real, Atletico. That says he can do it when it matters, when it's, someone serious.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm pretty sure it gives not only Thomas but the players confidence. They've been here, they've done that, they've played against some of the best teams, Manchester City in the league, in the FA Cup, in the semi-final, and proven it when it's needed to be proven every single time. And also playing really well. They've not fluked some results, they've not just got by, they've dominated games, and in the games against Manchester City, you came out of it thinking Chelsea deserved all 3 points, Chelsea deserved to go to the final. So I think it's you have to take some confidence from it at the very least.
You would hope so. 2 out of 2 ain't bad, as someone nearly said once. But then part of you thinks, does someone really do it 3 times over someone that good? The teams, Pat, very different. Much has been made of Guardiola's incredible record in cup finals. 14 wins out of 15, lost once 10 years ago to Ronaldo and Mourinho in the Copa del Rey. But very different players. I was looking at the lineups. Manchester City, Walker, Foden, Zinchenko, Mahrez, Bernardo, Gundogan. Not one of those players started either of the matches against Chelsea. Chances are all bar one will tomorrow. So how much do we really put in that Etihad win or the cup final win? Semi-final, excuse me.
To be fair, both of them are positives for us, right? You can't actually hide that fact. If we'd have lost, it would have been worse, okay? So let's take the positives out of it. How much positive, I'm not sure. Like you say, every game is totally different. But there were a lot of different players. They even played a different system against us. So yes, there's a certain bit we get of it. But there's not a player here that... there's not one player I would suggest here that thinks this will be similar to those games. Totally and utterly different. You just think, let's go on, let's learn something new. I wonder if Thomas might try something unusual. Just a wee change, and that's something that the players would look at each other and think, well, we know what he's capable of. He wins the big games, Thomas. So the fact that he's won the big games and he's maybe brave enough to make a little bit of...
What sort of unusual?
Well, I like what we did against Real Madrid. I loved what was 3-5-2. We had 2 strikers up. Mason, if you have Mason in the middle with 2 others, be it Cover, be it Conte, be it Jorginho, you've got 3 in there. Where are City strong? That's where they're strong. And it may be a concept. Well, they are strong everywhere, I'll give you that, but they're not the best centre forward in the world at the moment, right? So I wouldn't say they're the best in the world at left full back at the moment. I also wouldn't say that defensive line is absolutely perfect because it plays so high, and if you're quicker than them, you can do them. So there's areas that every team's got a weakness. Every single team in history's got a weakness. It may not be a big one, but you need to find out how to use it. And I think playing against them, we need to use that pace. Now, it may well be that, we'll use Winham, say Havertz up front, and Werner slightly off. You can still use your pace from slightly deeper. But I'm beginning to sound like Pep Guardiola now. Overthinking it. But we will. We all do. We overthink it now because it's such a big game.
That's what I was actually going to come to next, Zach. He has a little bit of a reputation for doing that. Even though he's got a good record in finals, he's also lost a lot of semi-finals and things like that when he has actually, for want of a better word, just mucked about too much with it. And you just wonder, he might be more likely to do something a bit odd like that.
Yeah, he could be his own worst enemy. Whether that's playing a player out of position, a formation they've never tried, trying to do a tactic that they've supposedly worked on in training but hasn't actually worked out on the pitch. And normally you would say in a final, do what you know, do what's safe, do what you know is successful. But at the same time, he's won a lot of finals, and so maybe a change like this is what is always on his mind to get him the win.
Well, I know there's a lot of people who want to see that man starting tomorrow. I wouldn't bet on it personally, not with any inside knowledge, but there's a shout for it, and it certainly might need him over the course of 2 hours, of course, Olivier Giroud there. One thing that is for certain, surely, is that Man City will play with a bit more verve than they did in that cup semi-final when we all thought they were oddly flat. Back to you, Boyd.
And try and find those little fine margins, but for me, the simple side of it, with top players, is good enough because these players are good enough to adjust and see things for themselves as well and react on the pitch.
Because that's the thing, isn't it, Jay? We did the FA Cup game, and like you said before, I think they started with a 4 in the FA Cup, which we kind of assumed, but they played Zach Steffen in goal, fairly rotated side. In the league game, you played 5, and then it looked like at one point we were all trying. Even Man City fans, I know, were trying to decipher what the lineup was. You're going, Rodri's the only centre midfielder. Is Ake playing left back? He's playing in the middle. When you've got a manager that's capable, on the flip side, you have Thomas Tuchel, like Clive's already mentioned. There is very regimented in terms of we know what formation Chelsea are going to play.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much like we've already selected. Probably 8, 9 of the 11 we could select and probably nail on in the studio 24 hours before the game.
Yeah.
As a player, like Clive said there, do you prefer going into it knowing this is what we're going to do, this is the game plan, it's the same for every game, it doesn't really change, you know how you're going to set up, you know how you're going to approach it?
I think in the modern game, there used to be a truism back in the day of does a manager know his best 11? I'm not so sure now, in all honesty, there is such a thing as a best 11. I think it states what your best 11 is and your formation. But interestingly, going back to that game that we played them in the league, where he went to a 3, that game was more important to us than it was to them. They hadn't won the title, they had one hand on it, but we needed the points. Now, we rotated our side. Billy Gilmore played in the middle of the park with N'Golo Kante, I think it was at the time, and Mason didn't play. So both managers weren't showing all their cards, but what Pep did, I think he used that almost as a training session to try and play a 3 at the back against our 3 and see how things worked out. And we went on eventually to go and win the game. Now, they could have won it. It could have been 2-0. What Guerrero did with the penalty was inexplicable. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think he was happy to sacrifice that game and the points. Now, we did pick the points up later on to win the title to try and work out how to play against Chelsea. I don't know what he learned in that game, in all honesty, because we beat them both times whether we played a 4 or a 3. So, over to you, Pep. What have you learned out of both of them? No doubt he's learned something, because he would have done. But I think that he used that more of a training ground exercise, fact-finding mission, more than we needed the points, if that makes sense. He knew that was the points. We needed them. We had to go there and get them. We did. But I think he was happy to sacrifice those points. So it'll be interesting to see how he lines up.
Speaking about learning, because obviously Thomas Tuchel echoed that in his press conference, speaking about last year in the final, and obviously, unfortunately, the way that the football's going is it's our second cup final in 2 weeks, and the first one obviously didn't go to plan against Leicester City, and congratulations to them. But when you're a player, how much do you learn from days like that? It's obviously gutting, tremendously disappointing. The days after that, we got a little bit of revenge in the league. But how much do you take from a final into another final in terms of the build-up, the expectation, how you deal with everything?
Yeah, I like to think that you learn from every single day. that something tweaks in your head and in your mind, and you go, oh, I might try that tomorrow, or I'll try that in the next game. And it makes you become a better player. And people say about experience. Yes, experience is really good because it's left you in a position of something you should have done before, but you're actually doing now automatically, and it just comes off the cuff, really, because you know what you're doing. But I like to think that players, whatever game they're playing in, yes, a cup final, you could teach yourself how to approach a cup final, you know, how to sleep the night before, what makes you sleep, what gets you to sleep, because you need it, how you get up in the morning, what you eat, how you approach the game, how you look forward to playing against the person you're playing against. You think you know you're going to be playing against, you're playing against somebody else. You know, you've got to adapt your mind, and I think mentally, a cup final can help you with the next one and the next one. But every day, every game, every training session, you should be learning more and more about yourself as well as football.
Mentality seems to be a key theme from within the Chelsea camp. We've seen someone that has been an absolute mentality monster over the last couple of weeks in Antonio Rudiger. Ben, I know that you're a big fan of Antonio Rudiger. How important is he to this Chelsea side?
Yeah, he has become very important, hasn't he? And a lot of talk, and rightly so, and you know there isn't a bigger fan of Mason Mount than me. No question that he's Player of the Year. But if we were handing out a Most Improved Player of the Year, I think, Zach, it may well be Tony Rudiger that would get it. I mean, he has become a monster. Capped off for me by the lunatic run in the headgear, up and down the left wing and then back again, and then in front of the fans. He's in danger of becoming a bit of a cult hero, isn't he?
He is. Especially in this three at the back formation, but playing that left centre-back role, it fits all of his strengths perfectly. He's brilliant in one-on-one defending. When he's on the ball, can pass with his right foot. Not got a bad left foot either. 60-yard balls out to the right wing to Reece James, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, whoever it be. And he's not slow either. He can keep up against the best opposition, whether that's Riyad Mahrez tomorrow, whoever it is, Manchester City. And he's a bit of a leader on that pitch. You can see all the players, especially because we have such a young squad. He's one of the senior guys. A lot of those young players look up to him. And whenever I've spoken to players on interviews, they've always mentioned that Rudiger's the funny guy, Rudiger's the entertainer, Rudiger's the one that puts my arm around me and says that everything's going to be okay. He's a real cult figure, not just to fans, but the guys in the dressing room.
And Pat, in a squad where there's quite a lot of nice fellas. There aren't snarly old, Terry, Costa, Drogba, people who, would grab a teammate and have a bit of a roar. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of that, actually. If anything, it could be a criticism of the squad for the last couple of years. It's maybe a bit too nice. He's got a bit of that about him.
He has certainly got plenty of that about when he's on the pitch, and that's what you want, the guys that can do that when on the pitch. But when they're in training, it's different. When they're with the guys, they're great fun, but a complete switch as soon as he gets on a football field. To be honest, I've always slightly, when we're looking at people who have improved, by the way, Kurt Zouma's not doing too bad as well, an improvement this year. I like what he's done. There was a period where he was first choice, but I do think Tony's first choice just now. I've never felt the way a lot of people felt about him. I always really liked him because I think he's our best defender, and I think players like Kurt can actually learn off him. Not just Thiago Silva. Everyone can learn off Thiago Silva, but you're looking at Kurt, and if you have that sort of power, Tony probably gets a nod, I would reckon, tomorrow because of the power that Zach's talking about, the pace there. Nobody's done him. I mean, I really don't think I can remember a player going up to him, dumbing him, going past him, leaving him for dead. I don't mean this season. I mean, I can't remember anybody ever doing it, period. And it was very interesting, the game against Real Madrid over at the bridge, when Eden Hazard tried to take him on, lamped, and he really made Eden know where he was. And I know the type of player, and I'm not comparing myself to Eden, he's your nightmare. That's exactly a nightmare. I say it all the time. I used to play against a guy. As soon as I talk about Eden, you get a picture of Ziyech. But Rudiger's the kind of guy you hate playing against. You absolutely despise it because he is like playing against a dog. He never looks at you, he just looks at the ball. So he never falls for a dummy. He's absolutely astonishing. Honestly, I think we all have underestimated him for a long, long time. But we do need creativity, and Hakim may well be the one. We've not talked about him, but he could be the one.
Well, he could. We've had a couple of CS-shaped curveballs thrown in, haven't we? Just on N'Golo, boys, watching him down there, how concerned are you about the hamstring, Zach? What are you thinking? Wasn't that long ago, was it, Leicester in midweek?
Exactly. It wasn't that long ago.
Hello everyone.
It's up to Tuchel here. Do you play a 80% fit Kante, or if he is, maybe he's 100%? We don't know personally. And that is a risk he has to take, because when he's on his day, that Real Madrid performance at Stamford Bridge, and to be fair, away as well, was unbelievable. It was unreal. There was talks at times that maybe Kante was starting to lose it, and every time people say stuff like that, he always shows them why he is one of the best midfielders in the world. And personally, whatever it is, I think in this game, last game of the season for us, you need even a 70% fit Kante, because what he offers you on that pitch is unbelievable.
But then who to play with him if he is fit? You know, Jorginho's obviously been a preferred choice. It was Jorginho and Kovacic all the way out. N'Golo had to wait a very long time. Barnsley was his first start under Thomas Tuchel, which I think was the 6th game after he'd taken over, Pat. It really is 2 from 3 there. They're not all 3 going to play unless some real curveball comes in. But it's tough, because N'Golo's been so good while Kovacic was out.
That's brilliant to actually have the option where, actually, if we put any of those 3 in, I think we all say, yeah, fair enough, got it. And by the way, I throw another one in because I know, I'm contractually obliged to say Billy Gilmore at some point, right? So, there are players there that you just stick them in there. Remember, Billy did well against Man City, but we've got a bunch of players like N'Golo. You have got Kova, you have got Jorginho, you have got, Mount can play any of those positions and comfortable. That's why sometimes I look at it, I do wonder about 5-3-2 eventually. And I actually think next season, I think it might drop the 3 at the back anyway, because we're going to have to go and score and create more goals if we're going to win leagues and things like that. This is not the day to do that, I have to say, because we have been so mean at the back. But I just don't know which one of them. And as we were talking about Tony, and we were talking about Kurt Zouma, he's not done up too bad, has he?
It's a hell of a squad back there. Right, young man, Zach, what's with the heptagon? What's that out there?
You know what? I wish I could tell you.
Why does it matter that it's that shape?
It's a passing drill, that's for sure. I wish I could say I've been in the coaching system to be able to say exactly what's happened there. But it's about getting that ball moving, and that's you can see the kind of Tuchel way of playing football there. Minimum touches, trying to get the ball moving, keeping it going, getting up and down this field. And look, we're playing against Manchester City, who are also probably one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, at doing that.